Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
National Museum. Today, Dawda Kairaba Jawara turns 95, and we've come to the museum to meet its senior museum and monument officer, Mr. Demba Balde, to walk us through what historical facts there are to help us remember his life. Thanks for joining us. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Balde, how are you?
Fine, thank you, Mr. Dawo.
Good.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, so we've come to the museum today to talk to you about some historical facts there are at the museum, as Dawda turns 95 today.
Okay.
To talk to us about his life. I mean, when did he start politics? I mean, his early days, where was he born and things like that. What could we remember about him? So we're glad you could meet us within a very short notice.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dawo, and welcome to the National Center for Arts and Culture and the National Museum of the Gambia.
Thank you.
As you have rightly said, Dawda turns 95 today, that is 16th May 2019.
Yeah.
Dawda was born in the village of Barajali in the then Makati Island Division, now Central River Region, by the parents of Mama Fatou and Almami Jawara. That is in 1924, 16th May 1924. Yes, Jawara attended Methodist Boys High School and later moved to Achimota College in Ghana, Glasgow University, and Liverpool University, where he studied veterinary science.
I was a doctor.
And he
became
was
a veterinary doctor.
Yeah. He worked in Abuko as a veterinary officer until he is called by his comrades to come and contest for elections in the 60s, right? Jawara's political development could be attributed to his university, college days or university days when he was in Glasgow, where he was elected as the president of the African students in Glasgow. And we can say that is where he develops
effectively.
Yeah,
he's
participated in politics. Yeah, which was not manifested until when he was called by his comrades to come and lead the then Protectorate's People's Party, which later becomes the People's Progressive Party.
Which he credits to himself.
Yeah.
He said he actually came to them and said, well, we have to change this in order for us to represent the entire country and not just the
Exactly. Because why it was the Protectorate's People's Party, it was because most of he was born in, he was born in provincial Gambia, and these areas, Colonial Banjul and the Greater Combo, was dominated by other veteran politicians like P.S. Njai, I.M. Gaba Jahumpa, and the likes. Yes.
And the protected people were disenfranchised in a way. Banjul versus the rest.
The rest. So I'm seeing that, you know, people who were in the protectorates, that is in the provinces, felt that they are not represented that much. So, you know, this is why they coined the party to be Protectorates People's Party.
And they knew they were the majority.
Okay,
right from Bakau to Nyomi.
Well, you know, that was not maybe known to most of the political gurus who were here then. But later on, when he was invited, he puts it to them that, you know, in order for us to grab the entire, at least support of some people within the midst of I.M. Gaba Jahumpa, Reverend Jesse Fine and others, P.S. Jai in the Greater Banjul, you know, they should coin, you know, turn the, you know, protect exactly to People's Progressive Party, which, you know, he willy-nilly joined and then contested to the 1960 elections. And
you think in a way, was there anything in his background other than his college participation in politics that suggests that Dawda would eventually end up in politics? Because it's quite a transition to move from veterinary
you know,
to an animal doctor to
well, you know, starting it at the university to represent the masses and his fellow Africans, you know, could have already grounded him. Good. I have already given him the grounds to how to represent people or the masses. So, you know, his political developments are attributed to that, because he must have undergone a lot of, you know, changes or developments from, you know,
in terms of leadership.
Exactly, developing the leadership qualities from that level or from that stage. All right, so coming to lead a political party will just be a resemblance of what he was doing at the university.
Excellent.
To represent the
Excellent. So at that time when Dawda became, there are quite a number of collections of pictures here. I mean, this is his independence speech picture.
Exactly.
But at that time he became the leader of the PPP. This is a largely protectorate people, disenfranchised, and perhaps also largely uneducated masses of the rural poor. I mean, one would have thought that perhaps it was going to be a huge challenge, but it turns out to be a huge success. I mean, what would you attribute this to in the midst of some veteran politicians like I.M. Gaba, P.S. Njai, Reverend Jesse Fine? These are amazing politicians at that time.
Because, as I told you before, the protectorates, that's the provincial people, felt that we have a representative now who will put our needs at the government level. So everybody holds it up that, you know, let us hold him and then vote for him. All right, when they were given the right to vote, they all voted for him. So they don't know the other parties. So obviously they voted for one party, that was the Protectorate's People's Party. Yeah. That, you know, compared to the, with some, of course, because he was here also, he must have been making friends, you know,
well, he did his
marrying in Banjul to the Mahoney families, you know, all the family support and the relatives of the family. So he gathered some, at least, support, and the Greater Combo was his Protectorate's people's leaders. All right, supporters were also emerging from that. And the provinces were entirely for him. So that led him to win the 1960 elections.
Now, fast forward, I think, wasn't it after that election that there was a time when he resigned because he felt that after the 1963, after P.S. Njai and his colleagues were made prime minister, and he felt unhappy about it.
Of course.
And he resigned, and he tried to reach out to Mr. Kamara as well, Andrew,
Exactly.
to also leave the government. There were quite a number of tensions. Even after the 1960, fast forward 1965, he was part of people who led the discussions to independence.
Maliboro House, yeah, he was
Tell us about that.
Exactly. Going through that of the Maliboro discussions for independence, most of the political leaders went to discuss as to how they will be able to place to come up with the Gambia's independence, discuss the nitty-gritties of the independence, all right, which culminated to Gambia getting independence in 1965, 18 February 1965, without any trouble or without any fight or war against the colonial masters. But it has been discussed, and at least they have already developed the know-how of how to be able to rule themselves or represent themselves and the like. Yeah.
So what would you say was the role he may have played in that? I mean, I know he was not the only political leader at that time. But there were those who, they were divided into two camps, those who say independence now and those who say, well, let's buy ourselves some time. We don't have enough resources to be an independent country.
Well, you know, because people have already felt that they are not well represented
by the colonials.
Exactly, by the colonial in the National Assembly or the Parliament, and most of their views are not heard at that decision-making level. So it's better to represent themselves than to be represented by somebody who does not know actually what your problems are.
Yeah.
So this agitated them to push for independence straightforward.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And they were giving. It was after the elections. He was appointed prime minister. You know, and which. In 1970, 24th April 1970, Gambia became a republic,
and he became a president.
Moving out the position of the
prime minister became a president.
Here the Sir John Paul, who was here after in the 1960s, 1965. To 1970, it was given to Sir Faribang Singate to become the Governor General, the first Gambian Governor General, who, you know, they felt that, you know, they should represent themselves now. They should take up the leadership directly.
Yeah.
All right, in 1970, the Gambia becomes a republic, and directly they need, you know, Sir Dawda was made the president of the republic.
So our first challenge to become the first attempt to become a republic was met with resistance, and eventually the election was lost.
Yeah.
Sir Dawda brought it back in 1970, April 24th,
yes.
and it went through.
Yeah, it went through. Yeah.
Okay. So, but I mean, here we are. This is him there.
Yeah, independence
on a podium.
speech. Yeah.
This was when we became independent.
Independence, yeah.
And he was giving a speech.
Yeah.
Okay. It reigns Clifton Road, being renamed Independence Drive by Prime Minister D.K. Jawara, 18 February 1965.
18 February.
What's Clifton Road? That's this road?
Yeah, exactly.
This one we call Independence Drive now. Okay.
So this was all during independence.
Yeah.
A lot of activities are done. This is one of the activities that he did on during independence.
Okay.
That is to open a road which was completed
as part of celebrations of the independence. So you open a new road.
A new road, yeah. Exactly.
Interesting, and rename it as
Clifton Road. Name it after one of the colonial masters who have at least done something great in the country.
So he named
he was very grateful to all the leaders who have one time at least led the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So, and then Fast forward, this independence speech was, some say, a memorable one, where he said, well, we're not expected to turn our groundnuts into gold.
Yes.
It will be rough and tough.
Exactly.
So, interesting political moments. And fast forward, he established one of the most major political parties until 1994.
1994, exactly.
So, tell us, I mean, what would one remember Jawara at 95 for?
Well, Jawara can be remembered for a lot of things, because he was part of people who struggled for the independence of this country, winning elections, winning the trust of the people to become the first president of this country, leading the Gambia from nothing to something, that is from 1965, taking it from the colonial masters, and you know, getting nothing from them. Structures were not there, you know, money, you know. They were not they were not strong in the revenue was not that much. But with all that, he was able to manage the Gambia from 1965, all right, onwards to 1994, all right, with a lot of, well, you know, obstacles here and there, which he was able to tackle.
What do you think, if you were to picture the government at that time? You talked about the challenges he might have faced. I mean, because the challenge a man goes through would eventually, ultimately tell us about his character. Yeah. I mean, what were some of the challenges you think the government had faced at the time? Well,
this can be external, internal, and many other things. All right. Internally, he was struggling with disgruntled opposition militants, party militants, who felt, you know, that they should struggle to also push him out and rule.
Yeah.
Yes, people like Jawara, JC5, PS Njai, and others. But with all those things and revenue collection and how to establish the Gambia's economy, and road network, building of the road network to reach all the entire Gambia, were all independent struggle.
Was there a port at that time? Was there any port?
Well,
or institutions such as
Gambia maritime agencies, maybe the ports was not that much developed, and although we are having some moving vessels that we are flying from here to abroad, and others were flying from Banjul to the provinces via the River Gambia. Yes, things like that, yeah.
Interesting. So, fast forward, he has done, he's passed a couple of elections, and then also we've had our own currency, because even the currency, there was a transition.
Exactly.
From
penny, British, West African to the dollar.
Do you have copies of that here?
Well, yes, we have them here.
Yeah. So yes, we have something here. This is actually the $25 seed. What?
Yeah, the $25 seed. This is the $10 seed. This is the $5 seed.
This is the $1 seed.
The $1 note, and these were the currencies we were using before.
So this one, I've never used this.
Yeah, I use this for me. I have used this.
You've used the $1 seed note.
Yeah.
So this is five. This is
butut.
One butut.
One butut, and that's a 5 butut.
Yeah. So
exactly, this 25 bututs. Yeah.
I mean, these currencies have now disappeared. These are the lost currencies. What is this one? 8 shillings.
Yeah, 8 shillings. This was. I did not use these ones.
Okay, I used
some of them. I used some of them. This one.
Yeah.
Yes, my childhood time. I used this one.
This one is what? This one is the Gambia 1996. This looks like 1966.
Yeah.
These are all the colonial currencies.
Currencies. Yeah.
So this one, British West Africa, 1916.
Yeah.
These are interesting currencies, and they've all been used here.
Yes, yes.
Interesting. One would say perhaps this also represents how the economy was like. I mean, if you could use bututs, and these are lost currencies due to
the lost currency is as a result of maybe
inflation.
Inflations of like that. The butut is no more getting anything, but during our time, you can be able to get mint from this butut. These 2 bututs, we call it burei. Then when this butut is added to the 5 bututs, we call it a nyata. Yes, when the 10 butut, the 2 nyatas were called tanka. Then the 25 bututs was called the taransu. Yes, all these things have now gone. And almost the 50 bututs, which is called the tala or the gennawalla, is almost gone because they cannot buy anything. We cannot get anything from them.
Absolutely.
Yes. Using the 50 bututs.
Yeah, these ones are stamps.
These ones are all
some of them are carrying his names. This is Dawda here.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks like he was a cute young man.
Yeah, brilliant young man.
Yeah. So.
Yes. Some are bearing the colonial masters.
Yeah, some are bearing the colonialists, but some stamps are bearing him. The Gambia.
The Gambia, so we're just trying, some of them were trying to show the Gambian environment.
Yeah.
Some we are showing the entire Gambia, the length and breadth of the Gambia, or the...
Yeah. So, 1985, Albert Market built this. So, yeah, I mean, aside from him, I mean, there were... Do you think, in a way, I mean, we have Edward Francis Small here, one of the key members of our independence struggle. Do you think Jawara may also have drawn his inspiration from any of the people before him? Say either E.F. Small or anybody within the political elites in Banjul at that time. He may have drawn his inspirations from.
Most probably, maybe. But I cannot just be that much strong
specific
in that. Yes,
unless it comes from him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because at least in any encounter, you learn things.
Something, yeah.
So definitely I would agree to you that you must have learned some of the weaknesses of these people, and he capitalizes on them, and then is able to jack them up.
Absolutely. Yes. This one is Independence Day. This is gymnastics.
Yeah, Independence Day programs.
Yeah.
Gymnastic.
This is the Independence Celebration 1965. This is the program.
Yeah, that was the program for 1965.
It would be interesting to look at this. I know his speech that PPP actually takes a lot of pride in. I've read their book, the people when they were in 1970, the book that was edited by Suwaibu Konate. Okay. And they said, well, and in his speech he said, well, we are on our own, and it's only by our own efforts that we must earn our keep.
Yeah.
So it shows he was modest in his predictions of the challenges this country faces. You think, based on the challenges he has faced, how would you have measured him in terms of his success as a president?
Well, he was very focused. I can tell he was very focused, and he was seeing nothing but the Gambia and the Gambia's progress. That led him to be able to stay the period from 1965 to 1994.
But his life was also not without difficulties, was it? 1981 came.
Yeah, that was another unforeseen circumstances in which he was overthrown by disgruntled Gambians, you know, but reinstated after the intervention
for
of
2
the Senegal.
weeks. It must have been a painful moment.
Painful moment.
The number of Gambians who died.
And you know, the destruction level was very high, and the like. You know, it was not. You know, it was an uncalled for. Definitely.
I mean, in terms of his political development, are there other pictures around here that shows his political life we could go to? Maybe we could in terms of his political development,
career.
He if you were to assess his career,
Okay.
Based on the people who he had come up against with, I mean, in terms of his success, like, because you would perhaps judge my success based on the opponents or the challenges I face.
Yeah.
Would you say he was a good politician?
Well, of course, he was a good politician, because being a good politician means you know how to play your cards. From 1966 to 1970,
Yeah.
when the Gambia gained its Republican status,
Yeah. So
and Jawara took over entirely the administration of the country.
excellent. This is him here.
Yeah.
This is a brief note of his biography.
Biography.
People's Progressive Party,
1959. Prime Minister of the Gambia 1962 to 1970.
Yeah.
President of the Gambia
1970.
to 1994.
Yeah.
Yeah. Born
Excellent.
in Barajali, Nyani in 1924.
Excellent. I was educated at Muslim Primary School and Methodist Boys High School.
High school, where he finished in 1945.
Yeah.
After working in the hospital, he attended Ghana's Achimota College and veterinary school at the University of Edinburgh to become a qualified veterinary surgeon.
Excellent.
He obtained an ordered diploma in tropical veterinary medicine. In 1954, Jawara returned to the Gambia as a veterinary officer, and he is a founding member of the People's Progressive Party. In 1959, was chosen to be its leader, elected to the House of Representatives 1 year later, serving as a Minister of Education. But then he and other elected People's Progressive Party members resigned to protest against the government choice of first minister, because the first minister was not him. You know, why should he leading the elections? Why should he not be the first minister?
Yeah, that was after 1959 election.
Exactly, that was what led to the protest. In 1962, PPP, as People's Progressive Party, won a majority and Jawara became the prime minister, replacing PSNI of the United Party. Since that time, PPP has remained the major government party. When Gambia gained its independence in 18 February 1965, Jawara continued as the Prime Minister. The next year he was knighted on 24th April 1970. The nations voted to be a republic, and Jawara became the first president of the Gambia.
This one is him, President Elijah from the company's Britain's Prime Minister, Mr. Margaret Thatcher. Miss Margaret Thatcher. Yeah, that's Margaret Thatcher with Jawara.
With Jawara.
10 Downing Street, our official London residence where they held talks. These were pictures. This one is Mr. Soul.
Prominent personalities.
Yeah, the
Postmaster General.
Yeah.
The post office was the leader of the post office. Was the accountant general. He was the accountant general. H.R. Monday.
This one is
the clerk of the court is
FNJC5.
Reverend J.C. Faye.
Interesting. And this were some of the people he had started career with, right?
With, yes.
Okay.
The founding fathers of our independence are
Yeah.
also here.
So these are some of the people. This is the Gambia Times.
The Gambia Times showing the relation after, this was after the unforeseen
Senegambia Confederation.
Yeah, 1981 coup, which culminated to the formation of the Senegambia Confederation.
So this now about Senegambia Confederation. I mean, he has had. He said in his book that he thinks that his counterpart, Mr. Abdou Diouf, was destined for confederation, but all the modalities were not well thought out, and perhaps this is what he attributes to the failure of the confederation.
Exactly.
What would you say was the issue?
He must, because definitely we have to credit him for his smartness. We are having one of the most smart presidents, Jawara, because knowing well that most of the intentions of the other counterpart were not favoring the Gambia. So no, he was not working well with that.
Yeah, so perhaps they thought that Senegal would be the permanent president of the confederation.
Exactly. Okay.
And treat us like an inferior cousin brother.
Good. That was that. Yes. And knowing that the architect of our two countries is not the same, the British and the French, you know, we were never the same.
Yeah.
The way we were brought up,
administration
yes,
and
definitely
and
we never want that domination.
Yeah.
Yes, the British will never like to be dominated, even in their affairs outside.
Yeah.
You must have known that. Yes.
Yeah. You don't also think perhaps he may have felt bullied by Senegal because of its large size?
Well,
No, if I go into a merger with them, they will consume me.
Well, that could be, but I don't think that was a major thing. It's just that the way things were arranged, they were not, as she said in his book, they were not properly put in place because things were done hesitantly, and which he never liked, because at least, regardless to the size of the country, we are an independent sovereign state.
Yeah, absolutely.
So definitely, you cannot just try to, dominate the other one. You must treat us equally. So they have not seen that equality in the whole show. So this is why it did not last long.
It didn't last long. It fell.
Exactly.
But there were security dimensions to it, because in Senegal in Gambia at the time, after 1991, we had security complications. We were unable to take care of the security situation ourselves. We were having a new army.
Exactly, and all those things were
precipitated the confederation.
Exactly. Although the Gambia, with its small security officers, we were able to move the Gambia
forward
until the coming of the 1981 coup, which was uncalled for. But definitely the size of the Gambia and the size of its
population,
not even the population, the servicemen, that is the officers, security officers, it was well managed. But due to that unforeseen circumstances, the introduction of the gendarmerie came in, causing a lot of widening of the security and the like. But all that, compared to Senegal, their security was higher than us, and giving us that aid means they have to take some of our revenue, most of our revenue, back to their country. So, the smart Gambian will definitely accept that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, I mean, I've kept you for too long, but perhaps one more thing. He's 95 today. Perhaps when he looks back, there are a lot of people who say, well, this is a guy who has also stood for human rights. There are some who say, well, he's found the country a broken country, and he's at least placed the basics in place. What do you think he would be remembered for? Is this what he stands for as a human rights activist and as somebody who contributed to establishment of African Human Rights Commission, which is known as the Banjul Charter?
Banjul Charter.
Or what he did as a leader in terms of building the country from where he's found it?
We must be very grateful. You know, he led the country peacefully from 1965, 1970 to the 1980s. You know, a lot of emerging forces were coming from the developments outside, which have to push us to get to at least adopt to other significance outside. All those influences and the like. So, but definitely he did a lot. He was able to stabilize our currency, the revenue, the economy. He worked untiringly Gambia without any resource that can be harnessed to at least to make us at least more reliable on it than there was nothing that Gambia greatly depended on only on granules and the like, and there was no other source of revenue like a commodity that we can transform into a finished good and then sell to abroad to give us more foreign exchange and the like. With all that, he was able to manage to build our cooperation with the outside world and in a better form, and he have led a lot of activities to calm down, to bring in peace talks in the entire Africa, West Africa for that matter, and even outside West Africa, because he played a very crucial role, in the Iran-Iraq relation, which ended up the Iran-Iraq war. We can definitely thank him for that. He was a model to be reckoned with, definitely.
So, I mean, at 65, you think he's a proud old man? It's a proud old man. Looking back at where we are right now, I think he would have thought, well, this is where we need to be.
Well, at 60.
Do you think that he's at rest, that the country is in good hands? Do you?
Well,
I mean, based on who you know and what you know of him, and what you know of where we are.
Due to his forceful evacuation from the leadership, and getting another dictator sort of. Could be his issues or development obstacles. But well, I can say he's pleased that the Gambia is now coming up into a democratic state, and at least people are feeling themselves. They can speak outside. They can speak freely. And the like, all those things, well, I know if things were in his hands, he would have wished the Gambia to be more than how it is right now, definitely.
There are some who said maybe we walk down if there are no other pitches to end it finally. It's an amazing place of different historical artifacts. This one is like you were talking about the economy. And I've seen some women here, and this picture was taken in 1959.
Exactly.
That
was one of Gambia's only.
This was all that we had.
Source of revenue. The granite. The granite was the Gambia's greatest source of revenue.
Yeah.
And these are all how the granite production and marketing or developments happen.
Excellent. This
Yeah.
was a groundnut. It was a sector somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. This was in Janjambure,
Yeah.
Georgetown,
In 1959.
1959. Yeah.
Excellent. Chief Sekou Jaju C of Jawara West. In 1961. Interesting. So, I mean,
all educational developments during in 1959. This is Balangar Primary School, Crab Island.
this is Balangar.
Balangar.
The famous Balangar. where
Balangar,
Edward
yeah.
Francis Small had problems with the tobacco.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, this one is the famous.
This is Armitage.
Yeah.
Armitage School.
Yeah. That's
Georgetown
Armitage.
in 1959. Yes.
Absolutely. And this one is the famous.
Yeah, I'm coming.
This one is the famous July 22nd Revolution.
The junta.
Yes. This is the turning point.
The turning point of
Independence anniversary. This is the speech of the president.
The present president.
Yeah,
Adama
Mr.
Barrow.
Adama Barrow.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a Quran. It's a
Yeah.
piece of Quran.
Well, we can also look at the environment.
The
in which
environment.
he have played a very crucial
Yeah,
role.
I mean,
Because being a veterinary
the
officer.
Banjul Declaration, yeah.
Good. Being a veterinary officer, he was very much interested in the environment of the Gambia and the fauna and flora of the country.
Ah.
Yes, in which in 1977,
Yeah.
he personally, declared that this Banjul Declaration, it is a sovereign reflection that in a relatively short period of our history, most of our larger wildlife species have disappeared together with much of our original forest cover. The survival of the wildlife still remains with us, and the setting aside of protected natural habitats for them is the concern of all of us. All right? It would be tragic if this priceless natural heritage, the product of millions of years of evolution, should be further endangered or lost for want of proper concern. The concern is a duty we owe to ourselves, to our great African heritage, and to the world. Thus, I solemnly declared that my country pledges its untiring efforts to conserve for now and posterity a wide spectrum as possible, wide a spectrum as possible of our remaining fauna and flora. Meaning that the Gambia, his government is going to take a stand to be able to protect some of the fauna, that is the animals, and some of the forest cover, which is depleting seriously. That is the flora.
This was in 1970, right?
1977.
I think today's Gambia needs that. Today's Gambia needs the declaration. Because everything we're talking about right now, it's about the environment.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
perhaps the 95-year-old
So
man
he
would
was.
say,
This also
let's go
shows
back to
how great he was.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
This is why they were able to come up with
forests.
at least laws to protect some of our animals, that they are no more allowing the selling of animal parts, that is their skins or any aspect of the animal. Yes.
Interesting.
This shows that Gambia have enacted that the
That was the
government will
Banjul
allow.
Declaration.
Yeah, that was the Banjul Declaration.
Interesting. So this is about the wildlife.
There is a conservation happening on these chimpanzees.
River Gambia together with mangrove swells in the Atlantic Ocean provide the Gambia potential export product as well as And also,
our wetlands, we
you don't
have-
think in his life he would have had, if he were, he had more faith in the use of River Gambia as a source of not just revenue but also transportation
Yes, of course.
than others. I mean, we had Lady Chillels
Yeah,
and other
right,
transportation mechanisms.
We have a lot of moving vessels.
Yeah.
Mansakila Kuta.
Now we
also-
don't.
Yeah, now it's
What's
it's a bit
Mansa Killer?
Kila Kuta was and also a moving vessel that was plying from Banjul to abroad, and from Banjul to the protectorates we are having other moving vessels too.
There was one that sank.
Lady Chilel sang, Lady Ride also sang. Yes, we have all those wrecks in the river. Yes, Lady Chilel, if you are at the new bridge, the Transgambia bridge, which Jawara talked about long ago, the building of the
Transgambia.
yes, the Transgambia, which is now
And
the
the
Senegambia.
the OMVG as well.
OMVG as well.
The
yes.
electricity that's
So
been talked about now.
definitely, we can see how his greatness.
Yeah,
from
as a vision.
The developments we are in now.
Yeah.
Yes, we are all things that he have already put in, black and white.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although
So-
he was not fortunate to act on them or to realize them during his period. Yeah,
So,
but he
I mean,
did.
we have kept you for too long, and you are a busy man. I mean, in charge of this whole
No, we are-
place.
we are
This
the same.
is
Gambia
this
is
is
ours.
Gambia's biggest treasure.
Yeah.
Are you the one in charge of that? So, finally, looking back at '95, what do you think Jawara would have regretted? What would you think he would have said, okay, I should have done this one differently?
Well,
Perhaps at 92 he retires and go home. As he had
he would
planned.
have loved to definitely have leave the Gambia with a sustainable human resource,
Yeah,
a sustainable economy,
yeah,
a sustainable agricultural sector,
yeah.
a sustainable revenue, at least to be able to, especially in agriculture. Yes, where the Gambia was, basically hoping to make its fortunes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
He would have
loved to have those areas very, very sustainable. Gambia would have been a self-sufficient country in providing food for it, for herself.
Interesting. Interesting. So, like I said, we've kept you too long,
Yes.
and we're very glad you could create time to talk to us about these issues. We want to thank you
Thank
very
you very
much.
much. I am Demba Y. Balde, the
Yeah.
Senior Museums
Yeah.
and Monuments Officer, the Cultural Attaché for CRR, URR, and LRR.
Excellent.
So it's a pleasure having you.
Yeah.
You are always welcome to come and
And
meet
what
me
you've
to
not
talk
also
about-
said, you also my teacher.
Yes. Thank you very much.
So, all right.
Yes.
So that's it. We're glad
Yeah.
that we could speak to you on this. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mustafa.
It's been
a
our
pleasure,
pleasure.
man.
It's been
I'm
our
very pleased that I have my student before me
Yeah.
talking to me, interviewing me. That was what I was praying for.
Yeah, thank you.
As ex-teacher, I always prayed to have my students excelling more than I did. Yes,
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
definitely. So
Absolutely.
keep it up, keep it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, keep it up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
And
thank
thank
you.
you, the entire crew.
Thank you.
Yes, for having me
Thank you.
at the National Museum.
Thank you.
So you're most welcome, man. Thank you.
So that's it. That's it. That's for it today. We're at the National Museum. If you just looking at this live broadcast, we've come here to look at historical artifacts that could help us remember the life of Gambia's former president, Dawda Jawara, who just turned 95 today. And so far, what we've got for you, it's his life from the first day. The parents to whom, his parents, where he was born and which year he was born, and Mr. Demba Balde took us through his history to when he became a politician, when he had started political life after in the university, but after university until the time he became the president of the Gambia and until now. And we've also tried to, think of what he would have done differently if he, as he turns 95 today. So thank you very much for being with us.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.